Hello everyone and welcome to the Franklin County Buzz. We are having a special live program this morning and my guest is John Schneider. Everyone knows John as Bo Duke. Well, many of them know him under other names, but you're here.
I have many aliases. How about that?
And let's start out with a belated happy birthday, John.
Welcome. Thank you. Not so belated, just yesterday.
Yes, just yesterday. And welcome to Decker, Tennessee.
Thank
this
you.
Pack the Park thing is going to be really helpful to making our town better, and so we're happy to have you here.
All I did so far was drive by it. I looked at the cars. I want to stop and check out all the cars. I'm obviously a car junkie, so
yeah.
It's
Well,
gonna
I
be a lot of
almost
fun.
got run over by one coming here, so you're.
Oh, but what a way to go!
I mean, a lot of fans.
Yeah. Well,
so,
thank you.
Let's start out with the Bo Duke story because
Okay.
that really is why you got the invitation. The story that I read says that you heard they were auditioning for this, and so you ripped up a T-shirt and got a six-pack of beer and introduced yourself as a boy from
Snailville, Georgia, who had finished first in my class at the Georgia School of High Performance Driving,
yeah.
which didn't exist.
Yeah.
I told him I was 24 years old. I was 18. Told them I was from Snailville. I'm actually from Mount Kisco, New York, Westchester County, New York.
Okay.
But the legend has kind of turned that into I was really truly had just fallen off the turnip truck and lied my way into an audition. Not true. I was doing a show called the Manhattan Yellow Pages, which was a song and dance show on the International Hotel where these auditions were. I had been an actor since I was 8 years old, so it was my. Even at 18 years old, it was had a pretty vast level of experience under my belt at that point, which prepared me to. We don't call it lying when we're acting. We call it being creative and being prepared for the audition. Because the one thing I've learned several, but one thing I learned early on was you do not get a second chance to make a first impression. They were looking for 24-year-olds fresh off the farm in Georgia to star in a brand new television show that maybe could drive like Burt Reynolds in Smokey and the Bandit. So I gave them every bit of that when I walked in the door. That's where the six-pack of beer came from. That's where the Budman T-shirt, that was already ripped, by the way. I didn't rip it up for the audition. I was 18. My clothes were ripped back then. They are again now, but... So I was ready for that. It was a planned thing. It was not a spur of the moment sort of an activity for me. It was a calculated effort to get that role, come hell or high water.
And you got it.
I did. It took about 6 weeks to get it. That was the initial audition. Second audition, came in with the beer again. I gave them who they wanted. I borrowed a pickup truck, because I drove a Triumph TR6. So I gave them what they wanted, then came out to Los Angeles with one pair of boots to audition for this show over a weekend, and I wound up being out there for 5.5 weeks before I actually was paired up with Tom Wopat, and they said, that's Bo and Luke Duke right there. And there's Catherine Bach. There's the three of them. Now let's go make a show.
And did you know that was going to be a breakthrough moment for you?
You know, I know so much more about movies and television now and about the likelihood of a show becoming a success, let alone becoming an iconic show. At that point, naively, I thought if you do a television show, if Warner Brothers is doing the show and CBS is partnered with them to do the show, of course it's going to be a hit because these are very smart people.
Yeah.
So I didn't know that they sometimes aren't very smart people. They're just taking a shot at it, just like we all are.
Right, and that's how we get through life.
Yeah. So the success of the show is nothing short of remarkable. It's still successful today in 2016 on DVD or online or wherever you can get it, because sadly it's not on television right now because it's just craziness.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm sure you're going to be seeing many replicas of the old car out here.
Oh yeah, there'll be a '69 Charger or two out there. I'm quite sure.
You betcha. You got your big star essentially with Bo. But you had a long career in music. We got to mention you graduated from high school in 3 years.
Yeah.
You performed for the Georgia State Choir all those years.
Right.
So you've been a singer, and I looked at your music history. You've got 13 albums, 18 singles, and been very successful in the business. One of those albums was "Memory Like You." Was somebody behind that?
You know, I produced all the stuff with Jimmy Bowen for MCA. I co-produced. So I selected all those songs. I had written quite a few songs, and when I A-B'd them next to people who really write songs for a living, I realized mine could not compare. They couldn't compete. So I was very pragmatic in the song selections, but I picked stories that touched my soul, and the notion of being in a relationship and not being able to let go of the last relationship, your big love, struck my heart. So that's what Memory Like You is. What's a memory like you doing in a love like this? Basically, get out. There's another song on that record called The One Who Got Away. You hear it echo down the canyon outside of LA, swirling up and down San Francisco Bay, from upstate New York to downtown USA. Go find yourself a tavern, buy yourself a beer, stick around long enough, and you're bound to hear some fool like me talking about the one who got away.
Oh, that's a great lyric.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, and I did not write it, but I found it.
Yeah, well, that's the
I found it.
Conway Twitty.
Conway Twitty told me it's more important to be able to find gold than it is to make it.
He's a wise man.
Yeah,
he's a wise man.
Yeah, he was great.
Well, you mentioned Conway Twitty. You've also affiliated yourself with Marie Osmond. I think you and she started the Children's Miracle Network.
We did.
Tell us about
30-something
that.
years ago now.
Yeah.
Marie and I met doing the People's Choice Awards. We met at 4 o'clock in the afternoon and went on live at 7:30 that same night, singing a 9.5-minute rendition of television theme songs.
Oh, I've got to look that up.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
But we were fast friends, and also were put together working for a charitable effort, and we did 2 telethons for this other group for 2 years, and I was the entertainment chairman for this telethon. And Dukes of Hazzard was huge. I had done in Atlanta before Dukes of Hazzard, had done a lot of things with Henrietta Eggleston Children's Hospital and Scottish Rite Hospital, and saw the value of a smile on a sick child. I had asthma when I was a child. I was tested for tuberculosis and all sorts of things, bad things. I had not great memories of being a child with an illness.
Yeah.
Didn't spend the night in one, so it wasn't terrible, but still, it was not fun. So, naturally, very, very aggressive young guy from New York, had a bunch of ideas about how to make this telethon that we were working for better. And in a nutshell, they were not interested in changing. Very old effort, and I don't blame them. Now that I'm 56, I realize, well, of course they're not going to change. So we had a decision to either shut up or start something new. And we started the Children's Miracle Network, an effort that all the experts said would not possibly work. And we, in about 15 years, became the largest children's charity in the world. And we are still that. We've raised right at $5 billion since all the experts told us we didn't know what we're talking about.
You don't take no for an answer, do you?
No, not if it's in there. You know, and not if it's in there.
Excuse me. Well, somewhere along the line, you managed to find yourself in a musical called Grand Hotel, a Tony Award-winning
Yes, Tommy
program.
Tune's version of Grand Hotel.
Yeah, 488 songs. You got some pipes.
Oh yeah. 488 performances, and yes, it was a great show. I am a baritone, and most Broadway shows seem to me to be written for tenors. An A seems to be what everyone needs to have to do a Broadway show. I have a screechy, terrible A, and certainly not 8 shows a week. So it was trying to hit that note. They finally lowered it. They lowered it a step for me.
Okay.
Was a great experience. Tommy Tune's a wonderful director. Being on Broadway at the Martin Beck Theater, where there's so much history at the Martin Beck Theater, was a delight for me. I was Sid Charice's first Broadway leading man.
Oh, take my breath
I know,
away.
I know. And she was on point at 72, 8 shows a week. And what a delight. It was Sid, when Sid walked around, it was like there was someone holding a key light for her, because she was just elegant and beautiful everywhere she went, whether she was in sweats getting ready for the show or on the show or after the show. She and Tony were quite astonishing people to have spent time with.
I frequently watch the scene in Singing in the Rain where she dances with Gene Kelly.
Oh my gosh.
She's an elegant woman.
Yes. She was a delight.
And in 2002, you did a film called Felicity, An American Girl's Adventure.
Yes, I did.
What's the backstory on that?
There's a wonderful toy company called American Girl.
Oh, okay.
They pride themselves on making excellent dolls and doll furniture. They have several stores. One's in Chicago, I think one's in New York. But they're the kind of toys made today that look like the toys made in you'd find on a shelf next door here.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's a quality product, and they ventured out into making. They had books about their dolls, backstories about their dolls. So they ventured out into making films about their dolls. So this was the second film I think they made, and I played Felicity's father. It's a beautiful story about a young girl and a colt, and you really can't miss with that. So it's quite delightful. If you have an opportunity, if you have a young girl who is into horses, if she's an equestrian at all, get a hold of Felicity, An American Girl Adventure. I promise you'll love it. If you don't know anything about American Girl products, check them out online. They are stellar.
Sounds great. Well, I'm going to jump ahead just a little
Sure.
bit here. You played a father in this film, and also you played a father in Smallville.
Yes, I did.
And I read some of the reviews, and one of them went on to say that you are a super dad in real life. So is that Chasen? Is that your son? I believe.
Chasen is my son.
And
yeah.
does he agree with that?
I don't know. It's hard to tell what your children think.
But he's successful in a film career of his own. Is
He's
he not?
working. He lives in New York. He lives in Brooklyn. We've had him at the studio in Baton Rouge, outside of Baton Rouge, for a couple of movies. He's been great. I also have Karis, who's my 21-year-old, who's an EMT right now, and she's going to be a firefighter.
No, you're not proud of her.
No.
not
And then my lovely Leah, who just got married. I now my daughter no longer has a boyfriend; she has a husband, which is great. Jared is a delight. I feel like he's my son, and
That's right.
it's great. My hope when I was doing Smallville, Jonathan Kent is an amazing character, an amazingly well-rounded, well-written character. And he is the man who raises the boy who becomes Superman. So that's an important position in someone's life. And when you do a television show, especially one out of the country, you wind up spending a lot of time away. So my fear, and the proof will be in the pudding later, is whether or not I was a better dad on television than I was at home. And I hope not, but I don't know, honestly. I don't know.
This was filmed in Canada?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Vancouver?
Vancouver,
yeah. I remember
in
that.
Burnaby, British Columbia, right outside of Vancouver.
That's, you were also, and I got this from your blog, you're an active blogger. It's not just once a week. You're popping up
Right,
there all
well,
the
yeah,
time.
I try to blog. I try to blog every day. I'll go through some periods where I'll blog every day, and then it'll be a couple times a week. And
Just the 2 days before your birthday, you blogged about a curveball. And you said, when life throws curveballs at you, you need to learn how to hit them. And you say that you're learning how, and you've hit a couple of home runs.
yeah.
Well, I wonder if Smothered was one of those home runs for you.
I hope Smothered is a home run. Smothered is the first movie that that I wrote and directed. Well, I did one called Collier and Company a number of years ago.
Right.
Put everything I had in it, and the business end of it, I think, ate my lunch. The movie is good. The audiences that saw it laughed and loved it. But when it comes to distribution, I've no idea. It comes as naturally to me as walking does to fish.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I understand that
Yeah.
a lot.
So Smothered just came out. It's on demand, which is a brand new area of distribution that nobody knows anything about. Not even the major studios. They don't know. I think perhaps only Netflix and Amazon Prime understand that animal.
Yeah.
Everybody else is just kind of floundering. So when you're on demand, there's the ability for everyone in the world to buy your film at the same time.
And watch it at home.
Or one person, or watch it on their watch.
Oh, yeah.
Like Dick Tracy, right? So I'm not sure. The business end tells me that I'm not required to be given an accounting except quarterly. So I have to wait to see how Smothered is doing. Before, the bad thing about distribution with DVDs and VHS tapes is that you had to have a garage full of them. The good thing about that is you could tell when there was room on the shelf. There is no shelf, and you have
That's
no
right.
idea what's going on.
You don't know
there.
what's going out or coming in.
Right, so I'll find out. It's a horror comedy.
In another blog, and I read most all of them that I could get to, you talked about Georgia politics, and I'm going to sort of quote from you. You said that they were sad, mean-spirited, and ignorant. At the time, I think you had been involved in a film called Hate Crime.
Yes.
And is that related to your position, and what prompted you to take that stand?
Well, it seemed to me that the state that brought us the AIDS quilt, the state where I first remember ever hearing anything about gay pride, was Georgia. So it seemed to me a sad, ironic turn of events that the state of Georgia was all of a sudden someone in there who I deemed ignorant or uninformed had decided that it was okay to try to pass a bill that was making it legal to discriminate against someone because of their sexuality. Now, 20 years ago, I probably would have been all for it.
Yeah.
15 years ago, maybe I would have been all for it. But something changed in my perspective about that entire question. And I'm not someone that wants to. I don't want to enforce my beliefs on other people. But it seems to me that is a backwards turn if you're trying to discriminate against people because of their sexuality. That is, I've never used the term slippery slope, but I think that is a slippery slope, where all of a sudden you can start discriminating against them, whoever they are, because they are not like you. And I think that's wrong in the eyes of man, and I think that's wrong in the eyes of God. I really do.
That takes a lot of courage, and I'm not trying to butter you up or anything, but for a man that you earn your living from the graciousness of people who support your talents, and yet you're not afraid to step out there and take a really strong position. Is that part of your family history?
Part of my family history, yeah. I don't believe in kicking people when they're down. I do believe there are people who need to be kicked. I believe.
That's Bo talking.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, there are people. Had a friend years ago that said, "Peace is that brief moment of time when you have your foot firmly planted upon your enemy's throat." And I believe that to be true as well. I'm not a pacifist, but I do feel that when people are being put down, or when a group of people are being unfairly treated, I feel like I have to say something or do something. If I'm there, if there's a bully somewhere and I can stop the bullying, I will, probably to my own hurt. I can't not.
Yeah. Well, that's a courageous
And
thing.
it gets, and it, I'm sure it gets me in trouble. It gets me in trouble sometimes, and it'll continue to get me in trouble. But I can't not. So it's part of my makeup.
I think somehow it doesn't bother you that it might be trouble. And there you
No,
are.
no. If something does not seem right,
Okay.
and I don't mean, and there's a difference between something that's not right and me thinking you are wrong. I'm not someone who will fight necessarily against something. I'm rather someone who will fight for something, for equality. And I hope that comes out in those. Hope that comes out in those blogs.
I believe that it does, and I love the fact that they're brief. Some of them are as few as 7 sentences.
Yeah.
But you make your point, you make it very quickly, and I think in a very positive way.
What did Mark Twain say? Please forgive the long letter, as I did not have time to write a short one.
That's correct. Yeah, speaking of great writers.
Yes, brevity is key.
Yeah, I searched through to all the things that I could talk to you about of your really vivid history, and I only got 3 words that led me to this question: is that you're a magician?
Yes,
Well, tell
I
us
am
about
a magician. Well, I spent a lot of time as a child loving magic. So I always had coins or cards or something in my hands. Had doves. I did magic shows for kids' parties when I was 12 years old. I would do magic shows for kids who were 14, 15 years old in New York State. So I just always loved it. Now, probably some of that came out of being the asthmatic kid that people thought was tubercular. So I spent a lot of time inside. There was an ad for TV magic cards.
Oh, yes.
And I got them, and I worked those cards. I learned how to use those cards. So magic was very, very good to me. And I still have some of that. I'm a lifetime member of the Magic Castle, which was a great thrill for me. I did a couple of card tricks the other night for Alicia and for my mother, night before last. There's something, I love the tactile nature of cards. I just love it.
And the physicalness. Do you do juggling?
I've never got past 3.
No,
I was
I got
never
you.
very good at it. And I could pass.
Yeah.
Because we had to do that. I think I did, we had to juggle, and funny thing happened on the way to the forum, I think. So I had to learn how to juggle for that. There's no skill that you can pick up along the road that you won't need sometime down the road if you're an entertainer.
Absolutely. There's no doubt a lot of truth to that. No
Yep.
doubt.
Yeah. So I try to pick up as many little splinter skills as I can.
Did you have siblings in your home?
Not in my home. I have 2 brothers. I have my brother Mark and my brother Bob. Mark is my stepbrother, I guess, but I don't call my children stepchildren.
I have sons.
Yeah. So they lived with my father and his second wife, Sheila. I live with my mother. So I did not have siblings at home.
I got you. I understand. Well, they said we could have you for 30 minutes, and I think we've done that. And
Was that it? Well, let me mention quickly that I do
Please,
have a
thank
studio. I have a studio in Holden, Louisiana. It is a 8-year-old boy's dream come true. I've had it for, I found the property when we did Smothered. I've had the property now for 3 years. There are 2 sound stages on it. 16 films have been shot there, 4 of which have been films that I wrote and directed. So it is a remarkable place. It's a wonderful place. It's a property that embraces you. Its design now for me is for it to be a place where independent filmmakers can come and really tell their stories. I have little signs everywhere on it, just like on my website, that say "Dream Here."
yeah.
So that's what John Schneider Studios is all about, hoping to attract independent filmmakers not only from Louisiana but from everywhere to come to a truly welcoming place that's a lot like, I went to theater camp when I was a kid, and I sent Chasen to a theater camp when he was young. It's a lot like that. It's like cinema camp. It's like movie camp.
Right. Space camp in Huntsville.
Space camp. Yeah, it's that kind of a thing. There's no room service. There's no concrete. It's just about making movies the most, or telling stories and making films the most efficient way possible. And I don't know a lot, but I do know how to make films efficiently. I know, here's the big key, I know what not to worry about. Mm-hmm.
John, I'm really grateful you came to us today.
Thank
you very much for
I've enjoyed
being here.
A wonderfully intelligent conversation.
In a
Thank
few
you.
minutes, you're going to be meeting a gang
Everybody.
of people that wants to shake your hand and touch your shoulder, and I wish you every success. I'm going to follow your career from here on out.
Thank
I
you.
can assure
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for
Much
joining us.
appreciated.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That was great.
We need to